time for the drivers and teams to leave Misano and pack up and fly right around the world this time. So over to the United States for round 5 of the GT3 Championship for season 5, taking place at Laguna Seca. Last time out at Misano, the race ended on quite a dramatic event as the leader, Balocon, with just a couple of laps to go and a 35+ second lead over the rest of the field, suddenly pulled over to the side of a track and came to a halt, and everybody else flew past him. Balocon running out of fuel with just 2 laps to go with an almost unassailable lead, threw away maximum points for the Drivers' Championship, and in the end came almost last in the field. But the benefiter of Balocon's dismay was Conall McCarthy, who swept through to take first place. Maximum points to the Drivers' Championship. But Balocon was not the only one to run out of fuel. Some other drivers did too towards the end, shuffling up the order. So the Drivers' Championship going into the next round here at Laguna Seca. Hubert Aigner is still in the lead, but his margin has been reduced somewhat by Conall McCarthy's victory last time out at Misano. Thomas Sajak is in third place of SVR team, and Manuel Duque fell back for 420 Racing. Nectaria Kutiar is in fifth. Kirill Brzezinski of Shadow Lotus AMR also fell back last week. John Becker solidified his place in 7th, as did Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus AMR in 8th. Tonis McCormick of Breakdancers had to serve a stop-go penalty at the start of the race, which effectively put him out the running for the Misano round. So he finished in 19th place, and as a consequence of penalties imposed, slips right down the table to 9th. In 10th, it's Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports, who's followed by Dami Ayo, who's also on the same number of points, who's in 11th place. For the Teams Championship, we've now got 7 teams in the Teams Championship for Tier 7. Shadow Lotus AMR, consisting of Kirill Brzezinski and Steph Farrell, are in the lead with 409 points. And in second place, following the disappointment last week of Balocon pulling over to the side of a track and Manuel Duque outside the top 5, 420 Racing are in second place. SVR team, Daniel Yellon and Thomas Sajak are in third. TWG Motorsports, Dami Ayo and Sindri Ragnarsson are in fourth. Breakdancers, a newly formed team after last week's race of Antonis McCormick, and a new joiner to the league, Hugo Rodriguez, they're in 5th. In 6th, it's Beeswax Racing, Steve Bezic and Nils Nins, not having great success this season so far. In 7th place, it's another newly formed team, Lusus, consisting of Pedro Vieira and Felipe Silva. Felipe is another new member to the league, so that reduces the amount of points that Lusus can have on the board, given his late joining of the season. The weather for Laguna Seca is very unpredictable. It's been dry for most of the practice sessions, but on the 2 practice races it was rain as the race came to start. So there's a chance of drizzle, and if not, it's going to be overcast and for California quite cool. Whatever happens, it's been very difficult to practice for this race, so anything can happen. So the weather for qualifying, unlike the practice sessions, was light drizzle with a greasy track, making it quite a challenge for the drivers. I've investigated what the available options are with Assetto Corsa Competizione, but unfortunately on the replay file there's no timings and no way of showing you who's doing what in the qualifying session. So suffice to say, conditions were difficult, drivers were struggling to set good times. Qualifying on pole was Hubert Aigner, the current championship leader. Alongside him was Hugo Rodriguez of Breakdancers. There's a new driver to the GT3 Championship who joined midway through the season, but already is proving to be quite a threat, having been in second place for quite some time at Misano before dropping back from the field. How will he fare this week from second place? On row 2 is Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports alongside Manuel Duque of 420 Racing. Row 3, it's Lev Balocon of 420 Racing and Erti. Row 4, Nils Nins in 7th place for Beeswax Racing alongside Conall McCarthy. Row 5 was Arthurs Ivanov alongside Kieran Wilson. It's row 6 in 11th, James Free alongside Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus AMR. On to row 7 in 13th place, it's Daniel Yellen of SVR Team, who's joined by John Becker. On row 8 in 15th place, it's Lord Nem alongside Declan Hugh. On row 9 in 17th place, it's Nectario Kutia alongside Dami Ayo of TWG Motorsports. Row 10 in 19th place, Thomas Sajak of SVR Team. Thomas struggling this week in these conditions, qualifying behind his teammate. And on 20th place, it's Steve Bezic of Beeswax Racing, also struggling in the slippy conditions. On row 11th in 21st place, it's Antonis McCormick of Breakdancers. Antonis normally right at the front of the field, but all the way down in 21st following qualifying. Alongside him is Pedro Vieira of Lusus. On row 12, to round out the field in 23rd place, it's Kenton Robinson alongside Eduardo Trepiana. So, going into round 5 of the GT3 Championship, drivers now lining up and the rain is pouring. It was drizzle in the qualifying stage of this round, but when the drivers lined up on the grid for the start, it was light rain. So a very difficult decision. Drivers unsure whether wets or slicks were the right choice. And they're lining up now, ready for the start. And we don't know what choice people have made, but it looks like Aigner, who qualified in pole, has already dropped back behind Rodriguez in the Nissan, new joiner to the league last round out, and Rodriguez straight past the Aston Martin of Aigner, who qualified on pole, and is pulling away. So Aigner slips into second place. In third it's Ragnarsson in the Mercedes. Ragnarsson driving for TWG Motorsports, followed close behind by both the Bentleys of 420 Racing, Duque and Bell Ocon in line astern, and Nils Nins in 7th place. Remarkable qualifying performance this week from Nils. He's been focusing on the Project Cars 2 Championship, in which he's doing quite well in Tier 2, or second place, coming into the final round of the Project Cars 2 Championship this week. So Nins claiming he'll be able to pay far more attention towards Assetto Corsa Competizione Championship. So Nils of Beeswax Racing in 6th place now. Urti, is that Urti? Yeah, it is Urti right behind him. Try to have a little look up the inside. Meanwhile, at the end of lap 1, Rodriguez is staying away from Aigner in 2nd place. Carthy has a look up the inside of Free and takes him. But will he hold on to that? Short run now into the next corner, and Free's on the inside. Looks like Free's got it to be. Free stays in front, and McCarthy slips back into 10th place. And out front, Hugo Rodriguez, already a second clear, as the Aston Martin of Aigner goes very wide just as we cut to it, going up the hill towards the corkscrew, and that 1.2 second lead that Hugo had will be even greater when we get to the end of the next sector. And having just completed the first lap, Urti's still trying to have a look at the back of Nins in the McLaren for Beeswax Racing. And Nins goes wide, catches the sand, and that'll allow Urti through and possibly allow the Lexus of Ivanov's through as well. Ivanov's probably sighing when he saw Nins in front of him. The pair of them were tucked right behind each other for almost the entire duration of the previous round at Misano. But Ivanovs and Urti go through as Nins slides a little bit wide on that corner. Ragnarsson also going very wide. Lets both the Bentleys through. And he's got Urti closing in. So lots of drivers having lots of trouble on the first lap, to be expected in these difficult conditions. So Urti and Ivanovs gone through on both Nins and Ragnarsson. on the second racing lap of the race. So lots of changes at the front of a race. Thanks to Aigner's slip into the gravel. Rodriguez. Hugo Rodriguez now 3 seconds clear. Look at the gap back to Aigner already. Again on just the second racing lap. Free is just in front of McCarthy for 9th and 10th. So McCarthy still trying to find a way through. Coming down the corkscrew. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide. He's gone very wide. He's gone right off. McCarthy will be slipping backwards. Tucks right in behind the BMW of Lord Nem, but also Becker gets through. So McCarthy tumbles down the order. I think that'll put him into 14th place. So a number of drivers having a lot of difficulty in these conditions, and Coutillard's having a look at the inside of McCarthy as well. A little bit of rubbing of paint. And Yellon's looking up between the middle of the both of them. McCarthy on the outside, Coutillard on the inside. And Yellon, well, McCarthy should have the better line, but he's going to have to leave it wide. So Coutillard's going to get a better apex speed. Coutillard's currently in front, and McCarthy's off again into the gravel. And that's allowed Yellon and Coutillard to get away. And is that McCormick? It is indeed. So McCormick's going through. Trappiano's in the background. Oh, Coutillard's gone round. Just came through shot then. So drivers having lots of problems on these opening laps in these very difficult conditions. Places exchanging every few seconds. And if they keep this up, the highlight show will be an hour long for the entire duration of the race. So McCarthy's got a little bit of space around him now, and the timing computer still not caught up until we get through the next sector. But that is Becker in front, so it has settled down, I think. So McCarthy now in 14th. Yellon in the Ferrari for SVR team, followed closely by the BMW of Lord Nem, and then John Becker in the Ferrari. And Lord Nem's having a look at the inside of Yellon. Looks like he's got that made. BMW seeming to perform really well here at Laguna Seca so far. So Yellon blocks off Becker. Ferrari v Ferrari. So Nem through into 11th place. Trappiano leading out from Io. And then McCormick hovering around in the background trying to find a way through. McCormick reported after the race that he made a mistake. He put wets on and they weren't working, so he pitted. And the tyres he pitted onto, they weren't working either. So he ended up pitting 3 times, and his car was just handling horribly in this race. So he's having a very difficult time. Down in 17th at the moment. Trying to keep up with Io, try and find a way through. Quite difficult though at Laguna Seca, but there are passing opportunities. Usually at the end of a start, finish straight on the hairpin. So breakdancers going into this round in 5th place on the team championship. McCormick for breakdancers in the 666 Nissan GTR, as Io has a bit of a nightmare there on the hairpin, so McCormick's through. Io of TWG Motorsports, so there's a big gap between breakdancers and TWG. There's a number of factors. Hugo Rodriguez only just joined the league on the last round, so didn't score any points in the first 3 rounds. And McCormick did fall foul as McCormick goes through on Trappiano in very short order. So McCormick looking okay so far. Pulls away from both the Porsche and the Mercedes. But McCormick did receive quite a number of penalties from his stewards following a few incidents at Kyalami, which hurt his score as well. So the gap between TWG and breakdancers is 100 points. But anything can happen in a race like this, and we won't find out until another 55. Oh, big collision there between Becker and McCormick. So McCormick better be careful. He's already received a number of points from his stewards for incidents. But Becker goes back through, and the Nissan tries to switch back. The Ferrari's well in front. Just coming into lap 6 with Nils Nins in 7th place, followed by Ragnarsson. Coming up to the hairpin at the end of the start-finish straight, and Ragnarsson's on the inside of Nins. Looks like to have a good line there, but Nins tries to close the door, but isn't able to. The Mercedes is too far alongside. Now Nins has got the inside of the next corner. Does hold on to that position, but the Mercedes is showing a good turn of speed and is very close. Into the next right-hander. This time Nins keeps it on the track. Slid wide on one of the opening laps, which dropped him back a couple of places. Mercedes is having a brave look up the inside. A little touch. Pushes Nins out towards the sand, but Ragnarsson's away. Brave of Ragnarsson to throw it up the inside there. And the McLaren of his teammate goes through, but tries to get out of the way. He's a lap down. And Frit is just ahead of the McLaren now of Nins, so that's 2 places lost. And he's got Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus AMR right on his tail now, Nins of Beeswax Racing. Little gap as they both get down the corkscrew faster than the Aston Martin. Coming up towards the end of a lap, so Nins drops 2 places. Ragnarsson looks to be away. Frey saw an opportunity when Nins was just a little bit wide and on the sand. So 6 laps in now, Agner still behind Rodriguez, who pulled away from him at the start following Agner's qualification on pole. And Agner's gone a little bit wide again. Gets away with that one. Coming up the hill towards the corkscrew. This weather proving a challenge to the entire field. Oh, and Agner's lost the rear end on the corkscrew. Car spins right round, and that's one of the worst places you can be. You end up very trapped, pointing the wrong way. So he's turned it around, but he's on the super slippy sand. It's like a skating rink out there. And how many cars have gone through as Agner gets going again? I can see Ragnarsson behind him, so it looks like Agner's dropped down into 6th place there. Disaster for Agner on the corkscrew. It catches lots of people out, especially in the rain that we've got today. So Agner's dropped right down the field. Has let Balocon and Duque through, and Erty. And Ivanovs as well, so disaster for Agner, not the end of the world. He does seem to have been stuck in 5th place though on recent rounds. He's currently down to 6, so what's he going to be able to do before the race is over? We're 9 laps in, and just coming up towards the end of a lap. Becker just ahead of McCormick. McCormick's had to look up the inside, but he's caught the rear quarter of the Ferrari and spun it right round. McCormick doesn't pause. Becker's left stranded. The McLaren of Beeswax Racing, Steve Bezic, has to go to the gravel trap to avoid him. So Becker rejoins the track, but he lost a number of places there. Becker was, I believe, in 13th. He's now showing 16th. He's gone across the line, so he's lost a fair amount of time there as well. He's down in 19th place. Lost a lot of places there, John Becker. Clipped by the Nissan of McCormick going through the final corner of a lap. McCormick needs to be careful. He's collected a number of points on his racing licence. So just around the same time that Becker got caught by McCormick and spun out on the final corner with Ragnarsson, 9 laps in, who's just at the starting complex in Sector 1. Catches a massive amount of the sausage curb there. Goes right off the track into the gravel trap. Surely that's opened the door for Frit caught a lot of air, the Mercedes then. But Ragnarsson kept under control when he came back down. And surely enough, Free is through. Easy place for Free in the end, following that slight error by Ragnarsson. So McCormick up to 13th place, recovering from the back of the field following qualifying. He's got a real bad slide on there. He's caught the gravel. He's spun right round. He's pointing the wrong way right down the track. He needs to really get out of there as fast as he can, but already cars coming towards him, trying to avoid him. So he's off into the gravel trap to try and make a recovery. This time it's McCormick dropping right down the field. We'll be checking the map within his car to make sure the track's clear. And rejoins as pulls away. But how far back has he dropped? Was showing 13th when he gets to the next sector. That 18th place, so he's lost 5 places there. And ironically, he's back in front of Becker. If Alonso was in this race, I'm sure he would be saying something along the lines of karma. Down the corkscrew goes McCormick, and he's now behind Becker. Yep, McCarthy just behind him. McCarthy having another difficult week. Oh, and the Nissan's gone again on McCormick there. He caught it though this time. So we're into lap 9. Urti pursuing Duque, coming down the corkscrew and into the final sector of the lap. Sweeping up towards the last corner. Urti closed right in now on the Bentley of 420 Racing. But the Bentley's gone mysteriously wide there. It's caught the AstroTurf and has slowed right down. That's put the Aston Martin of Urti right on the tail of the Bentley. And he's got the inside line. It looks like Urti's through. Duque slips down into 4th place. Urti into 3rd. So Urti having a good race this week. Again, a driver with lots of experience with sim racing and online racing. He's been a member of Apex Online Racing for a very long time, but relatively fresh to Assetto Corsa Competizione. But if the evidence in this race is to be believed, he's clearly getting to grips with it. Moves through into 3rd place. Only 3 seconds up the road to Balocon. The next Bentley he'll have his sights on. So Nin's still trying to fend off the Aston Martin of Shadow Lotus AMR. But he's made a mistake there on the hairpin at the end of the start-finish straight, and the Aston Martin is straight through. Steph Farrell takes that position, and now the BMW Lord Nem's having a look, and it clips the back of the McLaren, spins it right round. Lord Nem's not waited. That's cost Nins quite dear. He corrects the car, gets it back on track, pointing the right way. But that's Vieira, who's in 13th place, coming up on him, side by side. So the Lusus Aston Martin trying to get through. I hope Lord Nem is feeling suitably guilty there in the BMW. Definitely clipped the rear quarter of the McLaren, span it right out. At the same time, this gaggle of cars has really closed in on each other. So Frey in front in the Audi, followed very closely by Ragnarsson in the TWG Motorsports Mercedes, and then it's Steph Farrell who's just cleared Nins on the last lap. It's closed in Shadow Lotus AMR, and the slightly naughty Lord Nem in the BMW is in 9th place. Ivanov's just a few seconds behind, just off the back of his little pack. Coming into the final corner, Frey just in front of the Mercedes of Ragnarsson. TWG Motorsports in a close battle with the SVR team. Good chance for them to make some places up this week, make some points against SVR team, as Ragnarsson goes up the inside of Frey. The Audi's wide, and looks like Steph Farrell may have been having a look as well in the Aston Martin for Shadow Lotus, but doesn't quite make it stick. Slips back in behind the Audi, and Lord Nem is also having a sniff around the back of these two, looking for an opening. But they settle back down, but Ragnarsson's away, so TWG Motorsports looking good this week, at least for Ragnarsson in 6th. Io not having such a great week, he's currently down in 19th place, but the 2 Ferraris of SVR team are currently 18th and 20th, so if these positions were to stay, it will be TWG Motorsports moving ahead of SVR team this week. Breakdancers in a real mix of points on offer. Rodriguez currently still in 1st, but the other Nissan of breakdancers, McCormick, currently down in 21st. McCormick not having a great week, so very split fortunes for those. So I can't see breakdancers being able to move up against TWG Motorsports, but TWG Motorsports at the moment would move ahead of the SVR team. 420 Racing is putting a very strong performance so far this week, with the Bentleys of 420 in both 2nd and 4th at the moment. Whereas Shadow Lotus AMR, well, Steph Farrell is in the picture now in 8th place. And his teammate, Kilobojarski, not racing this week. So, great opportunity for Shadow Lotus AMR to be knocked off the top this week, only getting one of their drivers able to score points. So finally on lap 23, Lord Nem's pitted, so we just saw Ragnarsson go through. It's where Farrell is. It's of interest. Is that Farrell just then going through shots? I can certainly see what looked like Vieira there of Lossos Racing. So it looks like Nem's dropped down to 10th place possibly. Nins is currently showing 10th on the computer. And there's Lord Nem. And that is indeed, he has tucked in 9th place for the looks of things. I think Vieira's just behind him. Possibly. It's hard to tell. Nope, Lord Nem's in 9th. Nins is behind him. So the pit stops have worked out reasonably well for Nins. He dropped a long way behind the BMW, Lord Nem, after the little spin when they had contact, but now he's only just over 3 seconds behind him. So will he be able to close it up? So finally, Hugo Rodriguez pits in from the lead. His lap looks to be 18 seconds, may not be enough to keep him in front. But I don't think Erti will have pitted yet, so Erti not major factor. Duque, I think, is the real threat. He's a driver who is up there with the leaders. So Erti has gone through, but I think he's still got to pit, so that's a lead that Erti will only hold on to for the moment. So very much about where Duque comes out in comparison. He's still only just going down the corkscrew now. And Rodriguez is down off the jacks. I think it's enough. I think Rodriguez is still going to remain in front following the pit stop phase. So Hugo Rodriguez of breakdancers in prime position at the moment to take the victory this week. However, we said that about Balocon last week, and he pulled over to the side of a track with barely 2 laps to go, so it's never over until you're over the line and the checkered flag drops. But Rodriguez looking in a strong position to take the victory. Going around the last couple of corners of the lap and pulls into the pits, so that will confirm it that Hugo Rodriguez is going to pull through. He's into the last corner, just passing Erti now. He's in the pits itself, going to cross the start-finish line and retake the lead. So whilst Hugo Rodriguez leads the race, his teammate McCormick is having an absolute nightmare and he's only just pulling out the pits in last place. So real split fortunes for breakdancers this week. Erti still in his pit stop. Where's he going to rejoin? I think he was around 5th or 6th before all the pit stops commenced. So currently showing 4th. Rodriguez through, Duque through. Agner through, so Agner's got a good recovery from slipping back to at the start of the race. The lock-ons crossed the line, so Erti looking at 5th at the moment. Ragnarsson looks to be some distance behind, but the timing computer can get itself easily confused. So Erti pulling out, Ragnarsson's been through. Vieira has been through. Lord Nem's right behind him as well. And here comes Erti. Coutillard just in front of him. So Erti's lost a lot of places then. If that's Coutillard, that will put Erti down in 12th place. So not a great result for Erti. He was a lot further up the field, so I don't know if something's gone wrong. Yes, Nins into 9th. Coutillard in 10th and Erti all the way down in 11th place. End of lap 27, Lord Nem trying to have a look around the outside of the Aston Martin of Vieira. Petit Lussus. No way through for the BMW this time. Has to be pretty close to that Aston Martin though. The BMW really working well this week in the difficult conditions at Laguna Seca. Has another look of the inside, and I think they've made that one work. Gets the inside of a corner, the Aston Martin backs out to make sure there's no coming together. And Lord Nem slips through into 6th place, having a great drive this week. So we're in sector 1 on lap 27 with Nils Nins of Beeswax Racing. I was caught a bit of a sausage curve there, it's unsettled the car, it's just slid off into the sand, but Erti's right there, sees an opportunity and moves through. So Nins' small mistake there, catching a sausage curb, and Erti takes 9th place away from Nins. So that happening just as Lord Nem passes Vieira up ahead. So Nem 6th, Vieira 7th, 3 in 8th. Erti moves into 9th and Nins drops back to 10th. 28 and the Mercedes of Ayo TWG Motorsports drifts wide onto the gravel. Coutillard senses an opportunity, puts his car right where Ayo wants to be, blocking him off from the apex. So Coutillard gets through, catches a bit of AstroTurf there, that will slow his car down on the start-finish straight, but makes it work. Coutillard in front, Ayo behind, and McCarthy hovering around in the background. McCarthy will be worried this week, he's well down the field, finding it difficult in these bad conditions again, and his championship position, having just moved up the table, you might well find him slipping back down it again this week. Erti closing in on Frey and lap 29. Coming out of a corkscrew, and Erti just dives at the inside of the Audi as it struggles a little on the difficult left-hander on the corkscrew exit. Erti makes that look easy then, going past the Audi of Frey. So Erti making a good recovery all the way back into 8th place now. The gap, however, to Pedro Vieira in the Lussus Aston Martin, 8 seconds, so it's a long way for Erti to catch up with the Aston Martin. Let's see what he can do before the race is over. Into lap 30. Ayo still trying to get back at Coutillard, really throws it up the inside. Oh, and just taps the back of the Mercedes of Coutillard, spins it right round. And McCarthy sees the opportunity, goes through. Ayo waits for Coutillard to gather himself back up. It's over away, but McCarthy's through. Coutillard retains his position in front of Ayo. The Ferraris all at the back of the field this week. Sajak 19th, Yellon down in 20th, right astern of his teammate. So both the SVR team Ferraris doing really badly this week. And Sajak just catch a bit of the gravel trap there. Seth Farrell, who was doing really well, now right down at the back of the field. Something's gone wrong. So the Shadow Lotus AMR down in 21st is also going to score very, very minimal number of points this week. John Becker appears to have had some sort of nightmare in this race because he's down in 22nd now. So a number of cars dropping right out of the field. So we're in lap 31 with Manuel Duque. It's a little bit wide there, climbing up the hill towards the corkscrew. So he's been trying to keep Aigner behind him for quite some time now. Seems to lock up a little there, goes wide, goes right across the gravel trap near the corkscrew. That allows Agner straight through. So Duque makes a small mistake there. Slides off the track. Agner through into second place. Duque drops back to third, putting the 420 Racing Bentleys in third and fourth respectively. Agner trying to pull out a little bit of a lead already. Trying to stay away from the Bentley. Agner still leading the Drivers' Championship. Rodriguez probably won't be much of a factor because he's only joined at round 4 at Misano, so Agner's got 3 extra rounds of points over the Nissan GTR of breakdancers. So if he can keep Duque and Balocon behind him, Agner's in a strong position to... Oh, he really slides there. Oh, he really put a rear tyre onto the gravel, into the sand. He slid the car right round, went straight heavy into the wall. Could be carrying damage from that. Duque went straight through. Agner may well have some significant damage to his Aston Martin there. He seems to hit the wall quite heavy. Just put one tyre into the sand and it's snapped the car right round on him. Doesn't look like he's got major issues. He's still getting round okay. See how he gets around the corkscrew. Yep, gets around the corkscrew all right. So whatever damage may be incurred, and there will be damage on that car, looks like it's not going to hinder Agner too much, but he has lost that place that he only just made up on the previous lap. So Rodriguez still leading, and after Duque and Agner having a bit of a battle, his lead now 16 seconds to Duque. Duque still not really escaping the clutches of Agner. So Agner very lucky then on that impact into the tyre wall. So following their slight coming together earlier on, the TWG Mercedes of IO is still tucked behind Coulthard. As they're coming up now, climbing up towards the corkscrew. Coulthard's got a little wide there. IO's seen an opportunity, goes up the inside and moves ahead of Coulthard. Just a little slip. Got a little bit of the AstroTurf, and there's another tail slide there breaking into the corkscrew. And IO slips in front. So, he has a little look up the inside, but over side by side. Difficult left-hander. Very brave of them both to go side by side in there, but good driving by both of the drivers involved. So Coulthard could be pushing too hard there. He caught a bit of a sand. It's given IO a little gap. So the TWG Motorsports Mercedes moves a little bit clear of Coulthard. I'm sure Coulthard's frustrated now in that Mercedes. He kept IO behind for so long, and one tiny mistake gave all the opportunity that was required. On lap 34 with Lord Nem, looking at his best results so far. Oh, commentator's curse, comes into the corkscrew, loses the rear end. The car spins out. Lord Nem looks to recover it, but has to be careful about oncoming traffic. Gets going again, but he was in 6th place. Where's he going to be now? Did anybody get through? Or was the gap big enough behind him? Very easy to lose it on the corkscrew. The rear end of the car just spun round on him. Won't find out until we get to the end of the next sector. It's hard to see from the angle where we're at whether any other drivers got past him. Going to cross the start-finish line in a moment, and that'll tell us. He did lose places. Lord Nem down to 8th. Vieira and Erty both went through, whilst Lord Nem was stuck near the tyre wall on the corkscrew. Moving into lap 36, and Erty has closed the gap right in onto Pedro Vieira, now alongside the Aston Martin of Lusus. Looks on the right side and then looks at the inside, trying to get alongside. Difficult to tell from this angle, but it does look like he's there. And Erty just drives through on the fellow Aston Martin. So great driving from Erty. Vieira trying to come back. Doesn't look like it's going to happen though. So Erty into 6th place. Great drive. Next target will be Ragnarsson, but that's... Well, I'd like to say it was another tall ask because it's 14 seconds to Ragnarsson, but Erty closed the distance in on Vieira very rapidly. So clearly it can be done. So with Hugo Rodriguez now on his last lap. Good solid lead just coming up to lap the 833 Beeswax Racing of Steve Bezic, who's had another horror week in the rain. So Rodriguez lead quite substantial, I think about 20 seconds over Duque in the Bentley. So just needs to keep it under control, bring it home, and doesn't do that, goes straight on that corner. Don't know whether it's because I was overtaking the back marker, but slid right through into the gravel trap, kept it going in the right direction. Duque 26 seconds behind, but maybe needs to focus a little bit more on getting across the line in one piece. Both the Beeswax Racing McLarens went through then, but both are not in contention with Rodriguez, who still has very comfortable lead over the rest of the field and probably has his heart in his mouth now and will focus just on getting to the line. Got the last corner to get round. Onto the start finish straight. So round 5 of season 5 of the GT3 Championship hosted by Apex Online Racing, taken by Hugo Rodriguez. Maximum points to the Breakdancers team. And meanwhile, behind them, Lord Nem has closed right in on Pedro Vieira of Lusus. Lord Nem fell behind Vieira and Erti when he had a spin on the corkscrew, but has been pushing hard ever since that to try and get back. But surely it's the last lap. Surely the Aston Martin of Lusus is too far away. That's a good few seconds between them, although the computer's saying it's 0.8. A good few car lengths. Only 2 corners to go. Vieira just has to not be distracted by the BMW in his mirrors. Keep his mind on what he needs to do. It's the last corner. And the Aston's gone a little bit wide. If the Aston's caught a bit of the gravel, that will slow him down. The BMW can accelerate very quickly. It's got a lot of power. And Lord Nem pulls in front. Lord Nem on the last corner takes 7th place, putting Vieira down into 8th. Well, a nail-biting result at the end there. But Rodriguez takes the victory. So let's go and have a look at the official race results and see what's happened in the Drivers' Championship following the results of round 5. So looking at the official results of round 5 of season 5 of the GT3 Championship hosted by Apex Online for tier 7, Hugo Rodriguez is confirmed in first place, taking maximum points for breakdancers. Manuel Duque crossed the line in second place for 420 Racing, and Hubert Eigner finished in third. Lev Balockham for 420 Racing came in fourth. Sindre Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports came in 5th, Ertik came in 6th, and we just saw Lord Nem just pit Pedro Vieira of Lusus into 7th place on the line, which left Pedro in 8th place. Nils Nins for Beeswax Racing came in 9th, and to round out the top 10 it was James Free. Other names of note: Dami Ayo for TWG Motorsports finished 12th, Conal McCarthy, who was 2nd in the Drivers' Championship going into this round, finished in 13th place. Declan Hume finally got a registered result for this season, having struggled so far to get to the end of each round. So congratulations to Declan. Daniel Yellon and Thomas Sajak of SVR Team had a nightmare at Laguna Seca in the Ferrari, both finishing 19th and 20th respectively. And drivers we saw much further up the field at the start of the race, but then dropped right down to the back. Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus finished in 21st, and John Becker finished in 22nd. And Thomas McCormick of Breakdancers, who we saw struggling quite a bit during the race, finally dropped out and was a non-finisher on this round. So what's been the impact of round 5 on the Drivers' Championship? Somehow Hubert Eigner manages to hold on to first place as everybody else behind him shuffles round in the Drivers' Championship. Manuel Duque moves into 2nd place, moving up 2 places, while Conal McCarthy slits back 1 place into 3rd following struggles again in the rain at Laguna Seca. Natalia Kutiar moves up 1 place into 4th. Thomas Sajak slips down into 5th following a nightmare at Laguna Seca. Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports leaps up the table 4 places into 6th. Kirill Pajarski of Shadow Lotus AMR was unable to participate this week, therefore slips back 1 place into 7th. Lev Bolokon of 420 Racing finally comes into the top 10 of the championship. Both John Becker and Steph Farrell both slip back 2 places into 9th and 10th respectively. For the Teams Championship, there's some movement at the top of the table but no movement at the bottom. 420 Racing move into the prime spot with 544 points, and TWG Motorsports are right behind them, 100 points behind on 444. Shadow Lotus dropped back 2 places as Kirill Bajarski was unable to participate this week, and Steph Farrell finished right down the field, making a big loss for them at round 5. We saw our SVR team struggling mightily in the Ferrari, so they slipped back 1 place into 4th, but from 5th through to 7th there's no change this week, with Breakdancers in 5th, Beeswax Racing 6th and Lussus rounding out the field in 7th. There's now a 1 week break in the GT3 Championship for Season 5, with racing recommencing on Tuesday the 27th of September at 7:30 for qualifying. The next round will be at Silverstone, but the weather predictions are uncertain, with a distinct possibility of rain for the next round, which I'm sure our drivers will really be looking forward to. However, to make up for the break, there's also the 9 Tours de Provence taking place on Saturday the 24th of October from 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a 9-hour endurance race, and Beeswax Racing are participating with 2 entries into that event. Hopefully we'll see you there or at the next round for Silverstone. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like and possibly a comment and subscribe to the channel to catch more events in the future. See you soon, bye bye.